So Giri was like, you have to like remove this screensaver from your phone. So I had to remove my screensaver. But obviously, we were pretending to be these like fun people. But we
We're being ourselves.
which we are. And then we started whispering to people, by the way, guys, we're mums. We're mums.
It was like, we have to tell you a
The guilt
secret.
was sinking
Yeah,
in.
and people were like, "Oh, you guys are such fun moms. You don't look like moms." And I don't know why that made us so happy in that
Yeah, we
moment.
were like, I remember.
Thank you,
We're
Shalma
fun.
child. No,
And-
I'm heading it because the cliche, I told her, the cliche bit is generally in India, it's a guy who heads the family business or takes care of the family business. But here it is her who's at the helm of things. And I think that's incredible.
Now women start the family business.
Yeah.
Women start the family and the business.
Start the family and the business. Yeah. Hi everyone, and welcome to Don't Run Into Glass, a podcast hosted by the Citizen.in. I'm Gethi.
And I'm Anika.
And Anika, what are we chatting about today?
Today is exciting because we're talking to people we've known a long time and in some ways admired them.
Admired
them. I have because they are friends of us who do big work and are moms at the same time. Ever watched that Canadian show Working Moms?
Yes.
That was such a great show.
Yes.
Yes. So, I think you are going to be included in this episode today.
Yeah, no, I think it's an important conversation, and I was telling you earlier that when we meet, like now all we talk about is our kids, our work commitments, our social life, how tired we are, how we're trying to do it all, are we doing enough, and like the guilt associated with that, but then also of course like the satisfaction associated with trying to do it all, like where, you know.
I mean, creating magic or producing a human.
Yeah.
Is
So
a lot.
we're going to talk about being working moms.
Yeah.
And we have with us two very close friends who we've known from well before we were working or
From when
well
we were
before we were moms.
teenagers.
Yeah, from when we were teenagers.
Yeah.
And so we have with us Avlokita and Girija. And we'd want to start with, of course, getting the two of you to introduce yourselves. So Avi, tell us, what do you
And
do?
also tell us what you do. Because we want to know where you work, what you do, and the scale of what you do.
And how old your child is.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started working 15 years ago.
15 years ago?
When I was 21.
That's how old we are getting.
That's how old we are.
Reality check.
Yeah, I had to update my profile for someone and it was 15 years. So I started working 15 years ago. I co-founded a creative agency in 2016 with my business partner Adish Dugal. I handle the digital side of everything. He handles the creative side. So we do literally everything for brands. We're working with the IPL right now with Kings Punjab.
Wow.
We work with ITC hotels. We work with Acro Paints. We work with a jewelry app called Mabel. So we work with brands across industries. We handle everything from branding, marketing, social media, print, social media ads, making you money, making you look good, doing all the marketing mumbo jumbo. And yeah, we've been doing it for almost 7 years now.
And you guys did the Citizens social media?
And the Citizen, my most important client. My most important client yet. Actually, I worked with Anika also.
Yes, you did.
Yes Bank, almost.
You were a go-to person for a lot of people who wanted immediate effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So social media, marketing, branding, digital, and your mama too, Zubair.
Zubair Arya Bhandari. Yeah, he's 14
how
months
old?
old.
Oh my God.
14 months old, yeah.
Tiny baby.
Yeah, not that tiny
Not that
anymore.
tiny.
He's not that tiny.
Not that tiny anymore.
Yeah.
And naughty also a little bit.
Yeah, getting there.
And Giri, tell us.
I've been a consultant for 12 years, not as long as AV. I started as a journalist, wrote for the Financial Times, The Hindu, then branched into working on communications and gender. Worked with Tina Brown, who's an American-British journalist. Worked with UN Women, the World Bank for many years, and now work with the Financial Times, not as a journalist writing, but on their business side, on their strategic partnerships.
And you also helped the Citizen get off the ground.
Yes. Listen, everyone has a stake
contributed to the
in the
Citizen.
Citizen. So
But
We're all
so
involved.
Giri, actually, I don't know how many people know this or remember this, but when we were just starting, Giri worked in like helping us set up and sort of just get.
I remember our
going.
secret
didn't know that.
meetings. Yeah, I was still working at the Hindu and I used to
Yeah.
come slyly to discuss stuff
Well, actually,
with
we started a
Getty.
company together when we were 21.
Gaga,
Yeah, we did.
Oh my
We
God!
21 or
Do you
22.
know
And
I
you
was
were
supposed to be part of it?
Yeah.
I was supposed to be. How entrepreneurial of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I was supposed to be part of it, but I had to leave for Japan, and then I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, I don't think I will be able to do it."
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. I
Because
was.
when we were all in the UK and we used to order off ASOS and found that incredibly convenient when
Yeah.
we moved back to India,
There's
we were
nothing
like,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
We need to do that, and this is
And we were not
pre-Purnia
happy.
pop-up shop,
Pre-
pre all of
everything.
This
those.
was
Nothing
pre the
existed.
online advent of
Yeah.
It was
purchasing
quite
clothes
ahead of its
online.
time. If only
Yeah.
we
Extremely ahead of its
Well,
time.
the best thing was the Gaga party that you guys had. Like, that was the best.
If I knew then what I know now, we would have been billionaires by now.
I know
Oh,
we
yeah.
would have had a great
missed
life.
the boat.
Yeah, we definitely
By
would have.
association.
By yourself. Oh, yeah.
And also now, Giri, the most important bit, your
Sorry,
mom
my
too.
Yeah. I have a 2-year-old daughter called Aliza Shiva Khan, and yeah, I'm a mom and a working mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lisa and my daughter Isla, they're like 10 days apart.
Yeah.
So
They are 10 days apart. I do also remember the time when both of you got pregnant, just like apart from each other, and I'm just sitting there. So I think this podcast is going to be super informative for me because I do want to become a mom, and all of us are hardcore professional women.
Yeah.
I don't have another word for that because we always have been so fierce in what we want to do, in what we want to create, in what we want to research. We've studied hard, we've worked hard. We really go far with our ambition, and it's never changed. And
Yeah.
and Getty included. Currently, actually, you should sit there. You are the working one. I should interview all of
We're
you.
all major hustlers.
Yeah, major
Yeah,
hustlers.
major
Yeah.
hustlers.
Yeah.
But for a second, Getty, you also have to introduce yourself as to you're a working mom. How old is your child, and what do you do?
So I of course work with the Citizen, which I co-founded. I also you told me to use the word head my family business, even though I wanted to say that, it's very cliched, but I work in the family business. But Anika put it a little bit more accurately,
Yeah,
I
but
think.
work is work is work.
And work
so-
is work.
No, and heading it because the cliche, I told her, the cliche bit is
Yeah.
generally in India, it's a guy who heads the family business or takes care of the family business. But here it is her who is at the helm of things. And I think that's incredible.
Now women start the family business.
Yeah.
Women start the family and the business.
Start the family and the business. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my daughter is 2. She just turned 2 recently. And I love being a mom. I love being a working mom. And I'm excited to actually have this conversation because we don't really get an opportunity to really talk about like what we go through on a day-to-day, like kind of like balancing those two worlds, and not just being a mom and a working mom. I think I try and balance a lot more worlds than that. I try to be a working mom. I try and be a good friend. I want to have a social life. I want to go to the gym. I want to like be the best mother possible, and I want to like excel in everything that I'm trying to do. And sometimes I actually feel like I'm on the verge of burning out, but no, it's like the next day you end up doing it all again, right? So I want to like ask the two of you that question to begin with. Giri, we'll start with you. Have you ever felt any guilt in like trying to like sort of like straddle these two worlds professionally as well as like being there with your child day in and day out?
Yeah, so 2 instances where, so I, for example, stopped breastfeeding because I had to go to Iceland on work, and I didn't want to be strapped up with a pump in Iceland for 2 weeks on work. And yeah, I did feel mom guilt then because she was about 11 months old, and I was like, here I was with the first ever full-time job opportunity of my life, which I decided to take when my daughter was 11 months old. Wrong or right, we can come to that later. But I did have a lot of guilt about like, should I stop feeding? I'm leaving my daughter for 2 weeks, and subsequently I did another full-time job where I had to go to Singapore once a month, and like there was guilt. It does become difficult to travel. It does become difficult to concentrate. I feel like my brain had become initially, and even now I struggle with it, whether it's guilt or fractured concentration. I feel like my brain is constantly multiple tabs. at
Yeah.
all given points
Because they're always
of
on your
time.
mind, right? You can never.
They are on
Yeah.
they're on our mind. The infrastructure and the support system
Is on our
for
mind,
them
yeah.
is on our mind. I feel like besides being a working mom, I have a lot of other jobs that I'm doing, running a house, running work, being a mom. So I've had multiple instances where I've had this moment of guilt. I've also kind of like, in these jobs, I never, for example, reveal that I'm a mother. I do rounds of interviews, and I never, and I know there are a lot of moms who like, whose part of their personality and professional persona also is, by the way, being a mom.
Yeah.
But I never reveal that, because I feel that when you're interviewing me for whatever, do 6 rounds, 7 rounds, and this is in Europe and in Asia, you're hiring me, or you're looking at me as someone for my intellectual and
As a
professional
professional,
capabilities. I never talk in the end, I might say, yeah, I have a toddler, but I've never used that as a sort of bait or as something. And so there is that guilt, like, should I be telling them I'm a mom?
But it's also a thing, right? Like, I would assume that some people are even scared of revealing that information because that would hamper their hiring.
Yeah.
People would think, oh, you know,
She's a mom. She
she's
can't
going to
like-
be
It works
distracted
two
on the
ways.
job.
It works both ways. So there's either this like strange kind of sympathy, which I find slightly patronizing.
Yeah.
Or there's this, oh, you couldn't do this because you're a mom. Like, don't blame it on my child. I mean, I've quit 2 jobs, not because of my child and because I couldn't manage. I just didn't like the working environment over there. I mean, whether I'm a mom or not has nothing to do with it.
And
you
actually,
know?
now that I think about it, I'd probably hire moms because they multitask better than anyone under
And
the
they get the
sun.
job done.
Yeah, they're just so efficient because that's what they have to do all the time. You don't have to be on the job, you're always on the job.
True.
So what do? When your baby goes to sleep, your husband is awake. So, you know.
Yeah, and also you're probably not there to dilly-dally anymore. Like for me, like I'm the most productive I've ever been in my life because the 4 hours that I have in my workday, and I choose to have 4 hours in my workday, I don't have time to waste those 4 hours. So I actually get stuff done way quicker, way more efficiently, less gossip and chit-chat and dilly-dallying and time on my phone. So that I can be present with my child when I'm done. And Evie, so similar question to you. Do you, when you became a mom, because for you it was a little bit more recent, even though all our kids are similar ages, what was the sort of conversation you had with yourself? Because you, unlike Giri, head your own company, right? So,
so that's the thing, when you work for yourself, you don't get maternity leave. If you're away, that's, you know, it's a company problem. So you can't really ever completely take a step back. You have to multitask. And for me, before I had a child, all the people that work in my company are like my children because they're all much younger than me. I have to take care of them. So I have guilt both ways. Either I'm leaving my actual human child at home, or I'm abandoning these people who are helping me run my company, who are doing everything to let me be a mom. So I feel like I'm always kind of either guilty about leaving him or guilty about not being available enough to help everyone at work. So I've never been able to completely take a step back because no matter where I am, someone is on my mind, and I feel like that's totally fine. You know, I feel like when you become a mom, you can either be dramatic about it, which everyone has their days. If some days are just terrible, you feel like the whole world is against you, but I feel like it's just normal. We were made to do it. People have been doing it for centuries. We live in a world where we have a lot more help, where from privileged backgrounds, we have grandparents to help us. We're in a great country for raising children and working. So I feel like, you know, if you kind of skip the drama, it's okay.
I mean, you know, this is classic AV. AV is one person, and I give this example to a lot of people that I know. AV is one person who really has the ability to see the glass half full. You know, like she can take any situation and be like, oh, but we should be grateful. And I agree with you, and I do think that's a great tendency. But while you were talking right now, I was like, oh my god, classic AV coming out, classic AV, just telling us it's hard, guys, but like just look at the positive side.
I see a lot of like women on Instagram. I'm in social media. I follow people, I see what they do. Back in the day, nobody would really publicize the fact that they were mom and working. Now they do that, which I think is very good. I mean, it's insightful to other people. But I feel like there's some people who are just so dramatic, being like, oh, I have to feed my child, I have to bathe my child, I have to wake up in the morning. Everyone does it. It's fine. You can have a hard day. But I feel like that's also, like Anika was saying, she wants to be a mom. It's going to scare her. So if you have the privilege of being a working mom, support and encourage the one who's thinking about it. Don't terrorize them. Everyone will have you have a bad day even if you don't have a child. Every day is not perfect. But I feel like people that have a platform, they should try and normalize it. People struggle to have children. People have children easily. Some have supportive grandparents, some don't have grandparents. Everyone's gonna have to make their own way. But I feel like as women, we should encourage each other and not make it such a big deal. And be like, it's normal. I mean, childbirth is the scariest, but clearly you're made to do it, your body's made to do it, we've all done it, it's fine. Like, I just feel like the platform, especially social media, because it's close to me, I feel like podcasts like this should be to let people know, hey, you can do everything. You might not have the best day every day, but that's okay.
You might not sleep that well.
Yeah, motherhood is really a condition. It's like lack of sleep, generalized anxiety, stress, lack of concentration. It could really be like a condition that we could call motherhood.
You can do it all, guys, but you just might not sleep that well.
You know, look at us thirsty women. We just want everything, right? A fantastic career, a gorgeous child, you know, everything. And I do too. And sometimes I wonder if our mothers had a big role to play in it. Because I think looking at all three of us ladies, four of us actually, me included, we have hyper-working mothers. Very professional. So let's start with Giri. Tell us what your mum does and how maybe a working mum may have influenced your, not just upbringing, but your idea of motherhood.
Okay. So my mother runs a non-profit called the Population Foundation of India, works on population and gender issues in India, and has genuinely for very long been an advocate of reproductive health for women in India for many years, set up various NGOs in India. But when it comes to my childhood, I was born and raised in the US. My parents were studying at the Kennedy School at Harvard at the time. So the way my parents raised me, which was in the US, bootstrapped students doing their first jobs, sending, you know, my brother and I to daycare, is very, very different to the life I lead, which, you know, my mom is often aghast and can't keep it together and
can't keep her
comments. No. Like, she's really often, I would say, scandalized, maybe traumatized also. But like,
that's my favorite hobby.
I know, it's so much fun, and it's so easy.
And you're keeping do it to you too.
I know. That's what I'm not okay with. But anyway, so, you know, she was very hands-on, and, you know, the idea of having help was completely alien to her. I have help, I have backup help, because if I'm working, especially with, I've noticed in my experience working with, you know, European and American organizations, they don't have the concept of aaj didi nahi aayi, aaj nani nahi aayi, so I can't get to work. Children are in daycare. So, I mean, a lot of notions as a working mom and are very different when I talk to my colleagues across the globe. So my mother very often is like, how can you do this? Why can't you do this? You know, just do it or whatever. And I mean, so of course I have a lot of, like, my understanding of motherhood is very hands-on, is very helicopter, is very, very, you know, the time you have with your child, you make the most of it. That's great, but they didn't live in a time where you had cell phones, where you're on the hook all the time, you're connected all the time.
So true.
You don't have, there were no phones, I think. Actually, I don't think there were no pagers even. I'm that old. You know, there were no pagers. Like, there was,
the youngest one here.
yeah, but there was
Pagers came when I hit my late teens.
Exactly. So there was, when you said you were spending quality time with your child, wherever in the world you were, you had no other option. My husband and I, as professionals, we don't have that choice. I mean, and the world is much faster. The pace is much faster. I mean, although I have even till now, a full-time, very active professional mother, I have taken a decision to work part-time, to spend more time with my child. And I was telling all of you actually, I don't think taking varied and different professional choices has any sort of bearing on your intellectual abilities. So if I may decide to not work 16-hour days and 8-hour days and 12-hour days and be involved with organizations that give me a level of anxiety, or I have to travel and super connect with people for some time, and I'm with my child, it doesn't make me less professionally, it doesn't make me less professional or competent.
Totally.
It just means managing my time and making sure that the organizations that I align with are great and the work that I'm doing is even better.
And whatever the organization wants from you, you're delivering
Exactly.
it to the
But
team.
I don't want to be the kind of mom who's excessively, and this is not a comment on my mother, but like excessively aspirational, excessively controlling, excessively sort of, I have it all together right now, go to this class now, go to that class now. I'm very happy to just hang with my daughter, like the dopamine from cuddles are amazing. Like, I'm very happy to enjoy these moments. Like, the idea of a working mom being a hard ass, I think needs to just
chill out.
Breathe.
You have to find your own formula.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't
So that's a
matter.
bit about like my kind of,
Yeah.
I'm basically charting out a very different kind of maternity, mother approach towards my child, as opposed to
motherhood plan.
Motherhood plan, which I mean, in comparison to what I received, was very hard ass, was very like, structured and matter of fact. Like, I mean, like there were times that I would call her and she'd be like, "Why are you calling me? I'm at work. This is very basic." But I do want my child to be able to call me for any damn thing. Now, if I do it or not is my choice. But
You should be able to call.
Yeah.
But it's true. I think you don't know what kind of parent you're going to be till you're a parent.
Yeah.
I feel like you have these ideas of what kind of parent you're going to be, and you
That's a
hope you're
great
that kind
tip.
of parent. But when you're actually in that situation, there is no determining what you're going to necessarily do. It is.
The kind of parent you are today, like right now we have 1 to 2 year olds, soon they'll be 4 to 5. And actually with my son now I've noticed that he doesn't really care who he's playing with. He just wants to play. He's obsessed with his toys, he wants to listen to his music, he has his own routines, he wants to go to the park. I could be home, he'll say bye to me in like 5 seconds. He
well,
doesn't
it's the
care.
same with Ayla and Elisa
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're pretty independent, all our
Yeah, and
kids.
I was pretty much raised by my grandparents because my same thing, like they were so young when they had me, did not plan to have me at all. I was born with my own set of medical issues which put them into debt at a very young age. So they were dealing with a lot of stuff and they just had to keep working to kind of balance everything out.
And your mom is a doctor.
My mom's a doctor, so she hadn't even started her residency and she was a mom. They'd literally been married 1 year when my dad was at his first day of work when my mom called and said, "I'm pregnant," and he was just like, "What are you talking about?" And then a whole series of events. I've been persistent from day one. That's my story. But I was with my grandmother. Like at one point, my mom's name is Archana, so they call her Archu. I used to call my nani Mama, and I used to call my mom Archu Mummy because I thought my nani was my mom. Because I was with her. I mean, I'm very grateful, and I think that is why I'm so independent. Do I need some people in my life? Yes, but I'm very particular about those people, and the rest of them, it doesn't matter.
I think that's a common thing that I identify with you
Yeah.
over there with working mums. A sense of independence and self-reliance, self-entertaining comes into the fore.
Yeah.
You learn how to trust your instincts and trust your gut.
And I don't want to be with my son all the time because I know I'm not going to be able to sustain it. He shouldn't see me morning to night because I know I'm going to work. I love being a mom, but that's not all I'm going to be. Like, I would not be a good mom if that's all I had to do. Like, my husband is literally like, you work so I can retire. He's like, you cannot stop working because you will drive everyone crazy, him and my cousin
us.
child.
You will drive us all crazy,
Literally everyone in my life. So I have to keep working. I think I have to work to be a good mom.
Same,
Because if I stop, I don't think I'd be fulfilled, and I don't think that's a happy parent. So
but I think this is something Getty and I have spoken about. Like, we love being a mom. It's like we have many other facets to our personality. Of course, this is our favorite facet. But we are many other things. And like, that's the thing, like, it's a bit awkward when people like walk up to you and like, what is it like to be a mom?
Remember, Giri, when we went to, where were we at PCO? And we were pretending that we were like, sort of...
I mean, we were trying to, we went to PCO, we were going to do this whole, like, we were with a friend.
pretending you're still 21.
Yeah, we were with us, but we were
dressed up.
We were trying to get this friend, like, basically
We try to be wing
wing
women.
women.
We
Yeah.
were really good, by the way. Just if anybody wants to know, we really
Was
did
it successful?
Well. It
Very
was. It was
successful.
very like globally successful, I would say. But like we even removed our children from a phone.
Yeah, she made me do it.
Yeah,
Because
that's a giveaway. Who would
obviously
have
my
a little baby on their phone like that?
So
Yeah.
Giri was like, you have to like remove this screensaver from your phone. So I had to remove my screensaver. But obviously, we were pretending to be these like fun people. But we
were
went,
being ourselves.
which we are, and then we started whispering to people. By the way, guys, we're mums. We're
Yeah,
mums.
it was like, we have to tell you a secret.
was sinking
Yeah,
in.
and people were like, "Oh, you guys are such fun moms. You don't look like moms." And I don't know why that made us so happy in that
Yeah, we were
moment.
like, I remember.
Thank you,
We're
tell
fun.
my child.
But that
fun
happens
still.
to me. People meet me and they're like, "Oh, you had a baby, but you still look like yourself." Was I supposed to change? Like, what did you think was going to happen to me? Was I supposed to become boring, or start?
No, just sometimes people become stressed.
No, and
I mean,
I
I'm
think
not stressed.
I feel like I had
There's
this a
always
bit.
stress.
I wanted to be a fun mom. That
you
was
did?
like, it was a thing for a while. Now it isn't anymore. Fortunately, now I'm a very boring old person. I told Avi that day I sleep at 11 p.m.
Yeah.
But for a while, I wanted to be a fun mom. I wanted that to be like my identity. I wanted to maybe prove to myself in a weird way that just because I'm a mom doesn't mean I can't have fun. I'll have fun. I'll still wake up at 8 in the morning with my daughter and I'll be a mom. But that's why I said the lack of sleep thing. That's a bit of an issue.
But guys, we've also all been let's just like take a moment to acknowledge the C word. Like COVID like really deprived us of a lot of fun we regularly had.
Yeah.
And then we weren't having
We're consistent with our fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a big deficit of fun because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot of pent up like
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
actually,
I
when
mean,
COVID started easing down, you guys were pregnant, so you didn't actually get to.
And
as
then I
things started
felt like
opening
we
up.
needed it. After we
Yeah,
had
yeah,
our
yeah.
kids, we'd had the
whole world
lockdown.
needed it, yeah.
Suddenly we were like,
everyone needed it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah.
just us. Like I know how you're saying. Like I mean, wanting to be a fun mom. Everyone wanted to feel like a fun person because this like brutality of all these lockdowns and lock-ins was just too excessive.
Too much.
and now like all of that is petered down and you're kind of like quite content, being who you are and not trying to prove too much to yourself. And I think it does take time to transition into your role as a mom, because when you first become a mom, you kind of like do not really realize the shift in identity overnight, It takes time to accept that shift in identity, because for a long time I was in disbelief that I was a mom.
Yeah, I think
I was
you
like,
still have
wow,
that.
this
Like, is this my baby?
yeah, this
Did I
child
make
needs
you?
me and
Yeah.
loves me.
Like
and
all the time.
It takes some time
It
for it
takes
to
every
settle
day.
in. For, I mean, everything to kind of settle.
and to get some confidence in your role as a
Yeah.
mother. I think it took me a year to get confidence in the fact that my child needs me or wants to be with me more than she does with anybody else.
Same,
For
yeah,
the first few
absolutely.
months, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not an isolated story. Most new moms
Same.
go through that.
Yeah.
And after a while, you do build your confidence as a mom, your identity as a mom, and you relax a little bit. You're not trying to prove too much to yourself.
Right.
And I feel like now 2 years on, maybe I'm more in a position to do that. But Anika, I also want to ask you this question of being raised by a working mom and choosing to become a mother. Being raised by your mom, has that played a role in how you would see yourself as a mom?
Yeah, 100%. I think I was raised again very similar to Giri's story. My parents met and your story as well.
Yeah, all of us actually,
met
yeah.
when they were very young,
Yeah.
and they had me when I was very young, and I saw them build the entire lives
Yeah.
while that happened. 100% watching my mum as a working mum, handling the family setup that she was married into. She had a absolutely amazing love marriage, a love story where she met her partner. She met my dad in DU, and they were DU lovers. And then they got married, and then she moved to his place, which was a big family Jat setup. And she has like grown up in Jamshedpur, brought up abroad, gone all around the world, whereas my dad was like a Jat farmer dude, going to army, like that. And because of that setup and where they lived, I was sent to boarding school quite early. So alongside my mum being a working mum and the boarding school and coming back to kind of like a village setup, I think I learned a lot about how women are super adaptable.
Yeah.
Women can, and I echo what you feel now. Women have this strong intuitive gut feeling, which
Yeah.
takes a while to trust it
Yeah.
because it's quite strong.
Yeah.
And you're like, are you sure? Because this is
Yeah.
too strong,
Yeah,
right?
it's so innate.
It's
and-
so innate, it's so
Yeah.
natural. So watching her do what she did and building an empire around her, you know, she ran a school, but at the same time she lived in a proper farming wala farm, you know,
Yeah.
where she's growing crops and she knew each plant that was planted there, to running a gorgeous household, to being a kitchen queen. She was Nigella in my life. And you know,
Okay,
I
that's
think
something I don't have. I have
No.
no Nigella in the kitchen.
but I have seen her, and honestly with that it motivates me to be a mom. I think it's a magical experience, and I'm still in my fantasy
But
phase,
that's also
right?
because you've always been maternal. Like
Yeah,
when we
you're
lived in
immensely
London, you were
maternal.
like my mother. If I was
Yeah.
sick, you would come and cook for me.
Yeah.
So that's
I
been
used to
in
cook,
you since you
I
were
used
like.
to cook kgs of chicken for
And
you and
leave it
put
for
it in your
me.
freezer.
Yeah,
No, but I
yeah.
think it is like watching a woman, you know, do the magic that she does in a difficult environment that actually makes me feel like, wow, we have like special powers.
Yeah.
But again, I confess, I'm in my fantasy zone right now. So
That
I don't know how
reality
to,
strike.
because I have seen all three of you girls get so real when the baby came. It was so intense individually for all
Yeah.
three of you. You were traveling copiously with your child. You had to handle yourself, your
Yeah.
body,
Yeah.
and you just, sleep never came.
Yeah.
Sleep never came, it still does not come.
But that's so interesting. Like I never like. I mean, it's interesting to hear Anika talk about
Yeah.
us, like view us as new moms.
Yeah.
Because that perspective is also so.
Yeah. No, and it scared me, I must say. It's made
Anika,
me long.
1 second. Remember when you FaceTimed me, like maybe 3 days after I'd had Isla?
I
and,
forced her. I was like, show me your face right now.
and I think I scared Anika because I hadn't slept obviously in a few days. I had like, you know,
I have
had
a photo, I have a screenshot of Getty's bloodshot eyes, droopy lower lid. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, oh my god, my princess.
Yep, the first few
But
weeks.
I've never been that sleep deprived. I mean,
Yeah, neither have I.
yeah, my son came early, so I couldn't feed him.
I think it depends from person to
Yeah.
person. She
But-
anyways never
So
slept
when he
properly.
wakes up in the
But she's
morning,
also
he goes to the
a light
grandparents.
sleeper.
Yeah.
So
I'm
let's
also a
not
light
blame
sleeper,
all of it on
but
Isla. She's
guys,
a light sleeper.
I have PTSD from the first 4 months postpartum, where I had a child that woke up every hour at night crying,
I just think she
and
wasn't-
I had
she
to wake
wasn't
up.
feeding enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
I chose to exclusively breastfeed. I chose to
'Cause
do all
that's
of
what
those
they tell
things
you.
exactly, and I chose to put unrelenting pressure on myself,
Yeah.
which made the first 3 to 4 months of being a new mom incredibly hard. In fact,
Traumatic.
we
You
talk
were, like,
about this.
traumatized.
Yeah.
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 But you know, that said, I had the reverse experience, and I think it's important to share like both sides of it. I had a child from day 3 who slept 6 hours, to the extent that I asked the pediatrician in Boston, like, should I be waking her up to feed her? Because I mean, I didn't know. She slept for the first 6 months, she slept 6 hours straight.
Lucky.
And yeah, and then it all sort of changed after.
Yeah.
So I mean, but
And
now Isla sleeps
flip-flops,
very
yeah.
well.
Yeah,
and
and
like
we talk about this because I'm like, oh, toddlerhood is so lovely. I mean, okay, yeah, they're naughty and they have tantrums every now and then, but it's easy. And these guys are like,
Yeah,
like
they
for
were
instance,
easy
Nisha
babies.
and Giri, that
Yeah.
toddlerhood is way harder than the newborn
yeah,
phase
because
for them.
I'm
Yeah.
getting bullied left. Like it's really hard, guys. Like I'm really
Yeah, and I
getting
feel like
bullied,
we're all
and it's more
bullies, so
mental.
it's very weird that someone
Yeah, I
children
cannot
bully
accept
us.
this.
Adults
Yeah.
can't bully us, but our children will.
Yeah.
And
It's
hard to
that's
bully
a scary reality.
women like you. I'm glad your children are doing
I
it.
think point that finger towards yourself also.
Both
It's
of
going to
you.
happen to you also.
Yeah.
Okay? Be careful what you
Okay,
wish.
I want to say one more thing, and I think it's also important to talk about because I feel like I have 2 examples of like motherhood in my life right now. I have, of course, my mom, who is a working mom. We work together now with The Citizen. She's obviously a very well accomplished journalist. And
An
I
author.
and I was raised by somebody whose professional life was very, very important to them, but who was somehow incredibly capable of being a very nurturing, present parent. I don't know how she did it, but she did. Whereas my brother, I feel like might disagree with my narrative a little bit. I think he did feel that my mother was a little bit more absent than I felt.
Yeah.
Like I feel like she was always there. So it obviously depends on the child and their needs
because
as
for me
well.
it was the opposite. She wasn't there for me, but she was more there.
Yeah,
for
but
him.
overall, my mother was a very present,
I
nurturing
think
mom.
both of us, I mean, all of us have this in common
Yeah.
where we feel
I
like
think we
our
have
mothers were
phases.
very
I think it's
present,
phases
yeah.
depending on when, you know what I mean? Because our parents, I think your parents had you a little bit later.
Yeah.
Like our parents had us very young.
No, my parents had me quite late. My mother was like 34 when
Oh,
she had
really?
me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
my mom
I
was
didn't know
32. Yeah.
So, or
Mine
maybe
was-
she was 32 when she had me. She
Yeah.
got married 30, 32 she had me. But like the only thing is that I had a dad who always worked from home. So a lot of the stuff that like usually, at least in India, that mums do
yeah.
was my dad. Like naps, homework, PTAs. Like he even used to come to Cody, like to my boarding school with all the mums. He was the
Yeah.
only dad. So I always, so like while I had like a mom, which was like telling actually, because at that time she was a working mom, but I feel like without my dad having the structure that he did, like it enabled her also with kids
Yeah.
to be able to have that. So I had this, like my dad who was always there.
Same,
like,
yeah.
Available,
One,
like your
yeah,
dad.
from the age of 1 to 9, I think I barely lived in India, and that was just the way it was there. Like I was sick as a child, so anything I needed, from appointments to taking care of me in any way, shape or form, I think my dad did as much of the heavy
Same.
lifting as my mom. I mean, my dad still is very maternal.
Yeah,
I feel
my
like he
dad as
still takes
well.
care of my friends, and like me
Yeah.
and my brother, he's like a second obsessive mom, and my mom's just a normal mom.
Same, I feel
So,
like that.
yeah, I
my
mean-
did is like,
But that's why I
emotionally,
expect it also.
intellectually,
Like I
everything.
want someone who will do the same for me, because that's not the Indian way.
Yeah.
The Indian way is you go to work and you take care of child. Except now you take care of child means you run house, you go to work, you run company, and you take care of child.
We have 4 jobs that we're doing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
one is motherhood, one is being a wife, one is running the house,
Yeah.
and then being a working mom. So we're doing 4 jobs, by the way.
That's true.
Yeah.
But the reason why I brought this conversation up is because I have one other figure in my life, which is my mom-in-law, who is, for instance, a stay-at-home mom and always
Yeah.
has been.
As is mine, yeah.
As is yours. And I feel like now when I see the role that a stay-at-home mom also is able to play of just being there constantly for the house and for the kids, and just, sort of like always being present, I do see value in that as well. And I feel like that's played a role in me choosing to be the kind of working mom that I am, where, I choose to work from home several days of the week because, I've chosen to like structure my workday like that. I choose not to work 10-hour days. Some days end up being 10-hour days, but I try and minimize those because I'm trying to do the best of both. I'm trying to like learn from my mom, and because I really do value the fact that I was raised by a working mom. I think that is
Same.
if someone asks me whether I would have had it any other way, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have. I
Same.
don't
I think
think
same for us as
Same,
well.
yeah, 100%.
taught us independence.
Yeah, my
sort
mom
of-
is very clear. She's like, don't depend on a man for money in your entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Not
all
your
have
dad.
that.
We all
Not your
have
dad,
that. Yeah,
and
we all
not
have
your
that.
I think we
husband.
all have that.
Yeah.
But ladies, I want to ask one question, right? One is, a lot of us have now worked out our positions where we are leaders in our own domain, but a lot of people like me, I work in an institution, right? When I do become a mother, I have to seek out maternal leave.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is, at least in some professional environments that I've noticed, there is some stigma associated with hiring a newly married girl.
Yeah.
Because they know that she might take this maternity leave, and that's going to be a very big financial expense by the company, number one.
Yeah.
So that's the first part of my question, and I want all of you all to address that as to how do you feel about maternity leave, but also when you run your own business,
Yeah.
how do you take maternity leave?
Yeah.
And B, you're the owner of your business, right? You have a choice whether you want to be working or not working when you've just become a mother. I know
Yeah.
you've already detailed your choice that no, I don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I have to work.
Yeah.
My people around me want me to work. But it is also that sort of maternal instinct and that slowing down, that taking stock of things. So I want you guys to comment on both of these things and tell me a little bit more for like young mothers who
Yeah.
want to, not even young mothers, it can be old mothers also, but professional women
Yeah.
who want to get on to, because I'm freaked out about it. Like, I'm like, how am I going to manage? Because I think all of us, one thing we have in common is that we're bursting with ambition. We're bursting, and it's just not ambition to build a career to make money, but I think we are just smart women who just know how to get stuff done, and we want to do things. We just can't do much with ourselves if we're sitting at home. You know. So starting with Giri.
So for me, I think like it was, you know, this whole maternity leave and stuff, it's a bit different when you're a consultant because you're going from project to project. So I remember when I was pregnant, there was COVID, I took a bit of a break, and then I had to rebuild working, and I literally, you know, went from working when I was like, you know, when Eliza was like 4 months old, and I built it up over time. And when you're a consultant, you actually don't have maternity leave. So it's actually harder. To answer the other bit of your question about working, like I don't work because it's a hobby. I don't work because I need to kill time. I work because A, I need to engage my mind, but B, and as importantly, I need the financial freedom and independence. And I'd like to provide the best for my child. And that's what I think we've all seen of our parents. They've worked really, really hard so that they could provide the best for us. So I think that's one thing that's germane, and we've all taken that, like, I work really, really hard to provide resources for my child.
And I think for this generation, it's also, as a woman, I want to be able to finance my child independently.
Exactly.
Independent of my parents and independent of my husband. Because back in the day, if he was the one going to work and I was at home, there's a dependency. I'm not, everything is the same. And I mean, it's not that I think anything's ever going to go wrong. But when I decided to have a child, I knew that I want to be able to be financially independent. So beyond the point, I mean, they say the mother is the primary caregiver, she takes the best decisions, you have the instinct. But by the end of the day, if you're not footing the bill, someone can take a call over you. And like she said, I think as a mother, when you make the baby and it comes out of you, you just want the best. Like literally once you were stuck in traffic and I was like, I wish I had a helicopter. It makes no sense. Like that's not logical. But it's just wired in you that way. So I think all of us also want to make sure that we can give our child the kind of lifestyle we want to, independent of anyone else. I don't want to ask anyone. I want him to go to this school or that school or
and
this
you want to be the master of your
Yeah.
choices.
But I mean, I know this is about being working moms, but as working professionals before we were moms, we were always like this as well.
100%.
I mean, this isn't
100%.
new to being like a mom where
and we were
feel
very fierce about it.
we were very fierce
and
about
I
being
think
independent.
One important point I want to also raise is that when we were discussing this question earlier, we almost thought that everyone would kind of say, oh, we're working because it's a choice, we're not working because we have to. But the truth is, we're all working because we have to.
Yes.
We all need the finance,
Absolutely.
the resources, the financial resources. We need the financial independence, and we're choosing to work to be able to give our kids a certain kind of life, to be able to hire a nanny and a backup nanny.
Exactly.
You know, that's coming from
a concept that we learned.
Giri and I have spoken a lot because we were guilty. I think
Yeah.
we were like, why can't we manage with one nanny? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're
Why do you want so
hands-on
much
moms.
help?
But then,
circumstances happen. But like literally, all of us, I think, we work because we have to. I don't think we're working because, we're bored in the day and we need to do something to kill time. I mean, to kill time, if we were bored in the day, I think Getty would be napping if she could.
Oh, yeah.
If she could.
If she had the ability to nap,
She doesn't.
she would nap, but she doesn't.
I mean, being a working mom comes at a cost emotionally, financially, physically. People, like she was saying, generationally, our parents are like, why do you need so much stuff? Why can't you just do it? Be like, how many things? I mean, I'm one person by the end of the day. If you want me to be working full time, you have to choose. I can't be in two places at once. I can't run a company and be home all day. I can, but I wouldn't do either well. And for me, that's not okay.
But I think your necessity. Thank you. That is fueled by how expensive it is to raise a child now.
It is. It's a financial decision.
Back
it's not
in the
an
day,
emotional
our
one.
parents were just popping out children and be like sending them to any school and be like, yeah, just do it, just live, you know. But now, Maybe it is because of the kinds of mums that we are becoming also now, but also the economy. I mean,
Yeah,
it is
100%.
very expensive
So
to raise a
the-
child, and
yeah.
you know,
The economy, yeah, but like, I mean, two things. One is like world over, people know that having children is economically draining, emotionally
Extremely.
rewarding, but extremely economically draining.
Yeah.
Yes, there's the emotional rewarding bit to it. Also, guys, around the world, like populations are in decline.
Yeah.
People are
Except here.
actively, except
Yeah.
here where we will be the most populous country, or maybe already are.
we already are.
Already are. We'll announce it soon, I'm guessing. Waiting.
I think
Never.
April 15th is the big day, guys.
I don't like hard facts.
But yeah, around the world, people are choosing not to have children. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Japan, like anywhere in the world, China, even after they revoked their one-child
policy,
norm, are still not choosing. Like countries in the world where people are paying you to have children, but people are choosing not to have children. And one of the biggest reasons is that it's like mentally very taxing. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know if we can
No,
answer
and
that, but
financially.
financially,
Yeah.
and financially,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's a huge.
I mean, I was
you know,
raised to
cost.
believe that I don't have a trust fund. They're like, if you don't make money, you live poor. Nobody gave me, they actually
Yeah.
gave me financial insecurity, which now I've grown up and realized is bullshit. But I'm very glad. Like, my dad forced me to start saving money when I was making no money. Like, these are the habits they put in me, because in India especially, we come from privilege. We're all lucky. We have to appreciate it. We have to respect it. So it's kind of that balance where you want to give your kids everything, but you don't want, you want to give them the ability to actually make their own money and want to have the same ambition we have.
But guys, we are also way more particular about how we want our kids to grow up than our parents were about us, I feel. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
very
100%.
particular about what kind of school I want my daughter to go to, what kind of play group I want her to go to, what kind of like, sort of like extracurricular activities I want her to,
Yeah.
to expose her to. My parents were way more content with just letting me be a kid. If I didn't get into school A, they were pretty okay sending me to
Yeah.
school B.
Yeah.
They were not overthinking it to the
The
degree
thing
that
is
we
that
are.
Not
now
at
as
all.
parents we know too much. Like,
Yeah.
there's too much exposure. Every disease. I mean, my parents, my mom's a doctor, my brother's becoming a doctor. If he sneezes, they're looking at him, and I'm like, don't look at him like a doctor. Just look at him like your grandchild and your nephew, because they sneeze, they hurt themselves, they go here, they go there. What effect does this class have? What does this color mean? If they move one hand more than I mean, what is it?
Yeah.
Like, you can drive yourself insane. Our parents, fortunately, before us, they didn't have all of this. They just, they went with the flow.
They winged it.
Yeah, and we don't have that opportunity.
They
because
winged
we
it
have,
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They winged it hard.
Because also they were all making it.
Yeah.
They were all working very hard.
Yeah.
They were all making it, and they were all just like winging it and just making it happen. Like
Yeah.
they made miracles happen, guys. Look at us.
Yeah. Lucky them.
Well, we're pretty much out of time. I want to ask you guys any parting thoughts. What about
What
the-
advice do you have for me as someone who wants to become a mum and wants to remain a working mum and is very sort of concerned with her career, whether it be academic or whether it be professional or whether it be anything else?
It's a tough question.
Yeah, I know.
Kind-
Come on, girls.
I think,
Dish out some advice.
I mean, you're a control freak. You know
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
know
just go into it knowing that you can't control everything. You can't control.
I can't
how
put things
much-
on an Excel sheet.
No, not at all. You can, and then you can see them all go wrong, whatever gives you more peace of mind. But I think at some point, I think the best thing I've done is just let other people help me raise my child, because that's how I was brought up. So just be open to that. And everyone, you see your mom with your child, you see your mom-in-law with your child, you see your nanny, at some point you would do it differently, even if it's just picking them up and putting them down. Everyone has their own way, everyone has their own style, no way is wrong. But I feel like you just have to accept the fact that you cannot, and I'm a control freak too, so it's not a you thing. But when you just create systems where let people help you, and don't feel like, as long as my child is with a family member, my guilt is half. Like, that's my solution. Me, my husband, my dadi, dada, nani, nana, if any mama, any one of the family is there, it's the same as me. What's the difference? That's why I live here. If I didn't have them, then I probably would live here. So yeah.
Go on, Giri. Give me some
Firstly-
consultant advice.
Don't read anything. Don't read anything. It's like extremely confusing. It has a way of sort of shaping the narrative which may not allow you to have yours. Don't feel, and I know it's easier said than done, but don't second guess yourself. The thing we were talking about maternity being so innate, it's taken us time to realize it. Like you've seen it with all of us. Trust yourself, trust your gut. You're inherently a very maternal person.
Yeah.
So own that.
Thanks. That's TMI about my personality, guys.
Oh, yeah. Should we tell you more about Anika anytime?
No.
But yeah, I mean, just like don't, like I just feel like, you know, I mean, I was pregnant and Katie, we were pregnant around the same time. We didn't stress. We were in the middle of a global pandemic. But
no, that was really a blissful time to be pregnant, actually.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
you had no FOMO. You had, you know, no
Yeah,
social
yeah,
commitments, no long drives.
A lot of this, I think a lot of, like the three of us have been able to do as much as we do is because we don't overthink and overstress things.
And we all
beyond
do it
a bit.
differently.
We all do it differently and we all
Completely.
make multiple mistakes.
Yeah.
It's not easy, it's not convenient, but I mean, our kids seem fine. And I think that's all that counts, you know.
Yeah.
And I think to sort of draw from that, for me, I think I try to do everything the right way. You know, I tried to like feed even though it was difficult. I tried to be up at night when the baby was up at night. I tried to be, I mean, at one point, like I had pumped a bottle and I'd given it to Aditya and he'd gotten up to feed the baby and I woke up and I was standing there watching him. And he was just like, what is the point? What was the point of this?
The idea was for you to rest.
Relax. So why are you awake here watching this happen, you know? And I think that my advice would be like, try not to compare the way you would want to raise your child or the kind of mom that you would be to how somebody else is doing it.
Or even your own mom.
Or even your own mom. Because I think that's the mistake that I made. I tried to be a type A, like, you know, mom, which is naturally my personality, but I think I like set myself up for a little bit of failure. And then when I stopped trying to be a particular kind of mom and just let my natural like mothering instincts take over, I was able to find a much better balance to the type of mom that I am.
Nice.
So, on that note.
Yeah. On that note, I will call
on
my
that
partner and be like, let's get ready, baby.
That's not TMI.
Anika's mothering instincts are one thing,
Yeah.
but guys, after she's had a little bit to drink, she's also starts beating you up. Okay, so we need to.
I have gotten the worst beatings of my life.
Oh,
only.
yeah.
The only beatings of my life from Anika. So
maybe
This is so wrong.
you
Immediately
actually,
end this podcast.
You actually beat me up when I was pregnant.
That is
We
true.
didn't know.
You didn't tell me.
I mean,
It was
I
my
didn't
birthday.
know.
Anyway,
I didn't know.
and immediately end this podcast, Getty.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye.
Fine.